Welcome back to the Nav on the Issue show. It's been a while since we last had an episode, and a lot has happened since then. In the United States, the vaccine rollout is looking massively successful, and COVID cases are down 30%. However, on the other side of the world in India, COVID cases are reaching all-time highs not just for the country, but for the world. Every day, nearly 400,000 new cases are reported and almost 4,000 people die. My family in India on both sides have and know many people who are hospitalized or passed from the virus itself already. This is a serious issue. So there are two goals of today's episode. The first is to generally raise awareness of how bad COVID is in the country. A lot of people are generally unaware because of the little attention being given to the issue by the media. However, it is quite literally affecting 1.4 billion or 1/7 of the population at the same time right now, making it one of the most important stories in the world. Our second goal will then be to propose a plan moving forward for how the United States and the Biden administration can help the people of India and how you can too. To get us started, I'm going to call on the help of a professor who lives in my closet. I have no idea how he got there, and I have no proof that he's a professor. Like, his mere presence puts my entire family and I in harm's way. But because I'm so dedicated to making the Novel on the Issue show and making sure that its quality is top tier, I let him live here in exchange for doing these segments for me. So let's see how this goes.
The coronavirus. What a terrible, terrible disease. In the country in India, COVID is becoming a very serious problem. Daily, almost 400,000 people are infected and 4,000 people die. And these numbers are likely unreported due to a lack of infrastructure in the country regarding medical care. The disease is upturning lives of these Indians similar to how it did in our home country just a few months ago. The crisis in India started after a new variant, the B.1.1.7 variant, came from the United Kingdom. Now, this variant was much more lethal and infectious than many of the other variants across the world, especially ones in India, making it the perfect scenario for the country to fall into the situation it's in right now. There was also a culture shift in June of 2020 when many in India were actually encouraged by government officials and by healthcare professionals to go out to weddings, to parties, to social gatherings, and a lot of these places became super spreader events, which often led to spikes in cases in there. And because of the commonality of these super spreader events, COVID spread in India like a wildfire. On top of this, irresponsibly, health professionals also promoted lack of social distancing and didn't even enforce wearing masks anymore, which is the least they could have done to prevent such a crisis that India is facing right now. However, the most important part of this crisis is that there is simply too many people in India infected at one time. State hospitals are not able to handle the amount of people that are infected with COVID, and actually going to the hospital gives you a better chance of getting infected with the diseases because waiting times are so long. This actually rings bells to what America was facing a long time ago. However, the main difference between the two countries is that America just has less people in general, and the crisis that India can face compared to America is magnitudes higher and more deadly to the people of the country. So yes, while American hospitals were overrun at one point, India does need more help in solving their issue, especially regarding distributing supplies to those in the country that need it the most.
He did that pretty well. Definitely worth staying in my house for, actually. That's good job. I don't know. Regardless, it's poetic how the variant came from the United Kingdom. It's like the people in the United Kingdom messed up so much in India that even nature from the UK wanted to try it too. Moving forward from this, however, there is also the issue of aid being provided to India. So far, there's mainly been aid coming from the United States and the UK. However, the issue with the aid is simply that it isn't enough, and more importantly, there are not solid systems in India to distribute the supplies. CNN found that many of the supplies sent in by other countries to India were basically just sitting in hangars and quite literally collecting dust. Many of the workers in local hospitals had little to no communication with the federal government regarding the allocation of these supplies, which is a serious issue for a country that's having millions of people come down with this virus. So what has the Biden administration done to help the people in India? Keep in mind that India was dubbed the world's pharmacist after providing materials to develop and manufacture the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. In other words, India helped out these countries with their fight against COVID, meaning these countries should help out India in their fight against COVID too, seeing how severe it is. On top of this debt that the US and other countries have, there's also the fact that a spike in cases in India will only spell disaster for the rest of the world. If India's figures keep getting worse, which they are predicted to in massive numbers in coming months, many developed countries may see a spike in their own cases, and an increase of COVID in India will actually hurt the world economy, not only because of manufacturing, but because India helps outsource a lot of the work for rich companies around the world, and a lack of those services could cause these companies' stock prices to drop, and in turn cause the world economy to drop or stagnate in its value. Now, there is an argument to be made that the aid given to India is already enough. However, as we've seen, there has to be more done to help India specifically distribute the supplies that were given to them. The United States has experience. We have had our own issues with the medical supply chain early on in the pandemic, in which medical workers literally did not have masks. We should use the experience we have to help India fight their battle, especially because they're a developing country without the wisdom that the United States gained through their fight in the virus. This is why today I'm going to send an open letter to the Biden administration that you guys can sign on to with the link I'll pop on screen and leave in the description. There aren't many issues in recent history as serious as this one, in my opinion. The thought that possibly millions of people are going to die from this disease in my home country pains me. As mentioned before, my family knows people who have died from COVID. My own grandpa was in the hospital because of COVID. So this is why I oblige that after everything you've heard in this video, after I let that professor sit in my house, I'm still reconsidering that. You have the motivation to sign and back this letter with me. But I don't live in India. However, there are many, many people that do. So come with me and let's go talk to one of them that I believe is very, very knowledgeable on the topic.
India it has been affected very, very badly. I would say everywhere. You talk about the economy of the country, the society of the country, the people, everything. It's all gone. People are saying, "Oh, thank God, only 10 people died today."
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
You see, so many people are dying every day. Every day, hundreds of people are dying. If someday only 10, 15 people died, then people say, oh, thank God, only 10, 15 people died today.
Mm-hmm.
India is not at all prepared because India has asked for help from so many countries and India is getting the help from the countries.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the issue. But the thing is, let's talk about the medical infrastructure.
Yeah.
And India has got a very, very good, the medical infrastructure. But the so-called very good infrastructure are meant only for the high-end people, those who can afford. Not everybody can afford. And few lucky people who are working in good companies, they have got medical insurance for themselves, for their family. They can afford.
Yeah.
But not the common people, not the middle-class society. And the majority of the people in India is either they are middle class or the lower middle class.
Before we go, I want to ask you, should people subscribe to my YouTube channel?
Definitely, for sure.
Okay. There's a moment there where I thought you would be... No. Thank you for talking to me.
I'll make them subscribe, don't worry.
Alright. It's gonna be a turd. Alright, okay. Alright, thank you.